It is 75 kilometers one shot. You start and you finish when you've done 75 kilometers in the Thar desert. It happened in Pokhran in Rajasthan. I said, oh, hell yes, of course. I mean, where do you get an opportunity to experience nature like that when you run, especially a desert? Like, yes, that was 75 kilometers. Never experienced though living. As you rightly said, I mean, there was no cloud and mobility and AI and these days we are being. In my current office, we are running this program on ChatGPT and finding out saying how do we leverage ChatGPT more innovatively as a company. And there we used to actually do print brochure. In today's world, when I market, we typically talk about bots. We typically talk about a lot of AI and ML. I remember we were desperately trying to do account-based marketing because till such time, marketing was very event, saying we go to this event, we go to that event, and we are doing like 100 events in the year. But then that was very one-to-many. We wanted to do the one-to-one marketing concept, which was very, very new, which is digital. Digital is, I say that digital is a big heart, it is space for everybody. And interestingly, everybody has a pocket to afford digital, wherein if we had to go and print in, say, something or print a brochure, only biggies. Today, it is extremely hard to stand out, and that is what makes marketing a critical function in that sense. And that is what makes marketing's job way more harder than it was in the past. And the one big question that we always get asked is that, all right, you created these leads, what did you do to the pipeline? What's in the pipe from here? We were never asked these questions. And a good marketer's desire is to have end-to-end tech to use it. Like I have an email marketing engine, and then I have an engine which captures my web visits, and then I'm able to use a tool to kind of do the right kind of campaign for those kind of people based on their behavior, on what pages they are visiting and all of that. So I have to see digital holistically. It's not about LinkedIn and Google search. There is more to digital than doing LinkedIn marketing and Google search ads. You need to have good content knowledge to be a good digital marketer, as I said, because everybody's selling the same thing. Everybody's using those 10 words which are existing in this world of technology. AI, ML, predictive analysis. These are a few words really needs to know. I think two things which are super critical in making a marketer is your understanding of your user base, which goes unsaid. Understanding where they're resting, seeing what they're reading, and how they're consuming their content, of course, which is basic research of your target. The second is content marketing. I think content is becoming the king. It has always been the king, but I think it is changing more and more. It is about how you tell your story is actually going to be the game changer, because that is the only differentiator you have. And the other thing is having tech tools so that you're able to reach the right set of audience. And when you have that knowledge, you're able to do something about it. I only read physical. I don't read anything digital. I just cannot read digital. If left to me, I will not keep a mobile phone. I will go back to using the landline. I think life is absolutely blissful. I still most given attempts try and not use the mobile phone. This year I have started this policy of 12 hours of no mobile in my life. 7 days, no phone, no network, no food, no what to eat. You only had whatever food you had in your bag to eat. You had only one task to do, is every day start your race and finish your race within the given time. There was no distraction whatsoever in your mind. And going through that whole hardship of that race, that terrain, 40 plus degrees, you don't get shower, there's no change, you're living in that tent, you're living with sharing tent with 8 other people, your blisters in your foot, there is pain unending in every shape and form you can think of. And I don't think at one time my mind had any thought of saying, oh, I cannot do this. Why am I doing this? Why did I come here? This is just beyond me. I never thought of giving.
A very warm welcome to all our viewers at Techmasters. Right, today we have a very different kind of a person, very different kind of a personality as well. We usually get on board people who are from the tech world and people who are into tech, right? Now she is from the tech world. She's also from the world of fitness. and she uses tech heavily in both the areas, right? So let me introduce Mahasweta goes to you all, and it's seldom easy to introduce a personality like that in so few words, which I'm trying to attempt, right? So in fact, you know what, Shweta, I have my notes ready. Uh, there is no other way that I can introduce you other than referring to my notes again and again, because there is just so much one can say about you, right? She's an engineer in telecommunications from VTU. She's done her MBA in marketing from Christ University, Bangalore. She started off her career with Standard Chartered Bank, and Shweta and I had a career in a common organization, Wipro, right? So our lines intersected for a few years in Wipro, and then she moved on to Dell. From Dell, she moved on to Microsoft. I'm remembering. I mucked it up, right? And from Microsoft, she went to Mom's Belief, and now she's with First Source, right? And all this while, she's been a marketer, and she's been a hell of a marketer, right? And that has been her footprint as a marketer. That apart, as I told you, that she's an athlete as well. So both of us live in Gurgaon, and many a times I've seen Shweta jogging and running, right? And she doesn't do this for her own or on her own. Of course, she does it on her own, but not just for her own. I've also seen her train a lot of folks in open areas. So I've actually, Shweta, you may not know this, but I've seen you a couple of times delivering fitness sessions to people, at Nirvana County, that park over there, right?
Oh, I'm
And
surprised to hear that. I honestly never knew.
no, of course, I never told you. In fact, a couple of times I even stood by and I just saw what you guys were doing. It was really phenomenal. It's really good. It's really good, right?
Thank you.
Um, and guys, she also has a podcast about running, and that's a link that we'll give you in our caption, right? So you'll find it under the video. She has a podcast about running where she shares a lot of stuff about it, and I think her crowning glory, is that she recently participated and successfully completed Marathon Des Sables, and I hope that I got the pronunciation right, Shweta, right? Okay,
Good.
so currently she's the marketing director at First Source for the business finance services unit, right? And she takes care of marketing for US and UK, right? And let me, in fact, mention one more thing before I come to the questions. She has run 80 half and full marathons. Okay, 80 half and full marathons, including the 75K in Thar Desert. So let me start right there, Mahasweta. 75K in Thar Desert, right? So what is this 75K? Is it 75 kilometers, or what is it?
It is 75 kilometers one shot. You start and you finish when you've done 75 kilometers in the Thar Desert. It happened in Pokhran in Rajasthan. One of the most favorite runs of mine that I've done. Unfortunately, that race didn't see a second edition, but if and ever it does, I will be the first one to register. In fact, for that race, my bib number was 001 because I was the first one who agreed. The organizer's a friend. She reached out and said, "Hey, we're doing it. Will you be interested?" I said, "Oh, hell yes, of course." I mean, where do you get an opportunity to experience nature like that when you run, especially a desert? Like, you can hike up a trail, but you would never venture out into a desert on your own because you're scared you will get lost and you don't know your bearings and all of that. So yes, that was 75 kilometers. And Marathon Des Sables was 256, but it was in 6 days and 7 days. So we saw desert to the next level. So my two experiences of the Thar Desert and the Sahara Desert.
Fantastic. So tell us about your preparation which you did for this 75K run, and we'll come to Marathon Des Sables later.
75 kilometer, I think because I'm a regular runner, I'm always in the state of running. I say that it's my way of life. I do it like any of us do: eat, drink, sleep. I do it like that. So I think I just upped the mileage a little bit. Had never done a race like that before. So I was first time, what do you call it? Made familiar with the gear that one needs to race in a desert. The heat was something that I've never experienced, though living in Gurgaon. But I don't remember taking any special training. I just put up a lot of mileage during running for those things. And it was a supported race. So you got hydration, you got food, you got chilled water and all of that. So it didn't need any of those kind of preparation. So you just train like for any other ultra. Just that this was almost 50 degrees we are talking about, so it was exceptionally hot. I did take tips from some other runners who have run in these kind of races, or were more familiar than I was. And they said, just ensure that you dissipate heat, especially from your face, from your neck, because that's where the heat stroke tends to happen. So just watch out for that. I, as a person, as a runner, I think I enjoy heat. I'm not a very cold weather person, so I think heat doesn't freak me out, unlike a lot of people. So I think that played to my advantage. Having said that, it was really hot. Like at some point, I remember we were crossing the run, as they say, right, which is the desert, where you say miles and miles only desert. I first time experienced a real mirage. It looked like this glimmering water body on every side you could look with. And then you need to just keep your calm and go ahead. And then at some point I thought that my skin's going to actually have blisters, because your skin burns so much in the heat like that, which is dry heat, which is not like the humid heat that we typically feel everywhere. It's very, very dry, very, very hot. You do tend to run out of water because you overdrink, so your estimation of water kind of goes sideways. Those were my first time experience. The second time when I did it, I knew, so I was cautious. But and the most interesting part was when we crossed very little quaint villages. When you call villages in the desert, they're like maybe one house, two house, and they kind of looked at us very astonishingly, saying, "What are you doing? You're really nice. Why are you here?"
No, I can actually imagine that. They must be thinking, the world runs away from here and you are running over to us. So what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah. It was very,
So tell me that when you saw those mirages, you actually didn't think of taking a dip.
No, it was so far. It is so far away that you don't want to you have to really walk far away to take the dips. When you count your steps in your kilometers, you don't want to venture out. And I think unless you're really delusional, I am sure people in that heat might get delusional because of either lack of enough salt or water or whatever might tend to. But I think when you're doing a race, you're more prepared. You're drinking. You don't feel delusional. One can differentiate between a real mirage and water. So,
correct.
Yeah.
So, Shweta, when both of us started our careers, right, that was the early noughts or the early noughties, right? And what the way we would appear to our current generation would be like fossils. No, the way we used to do marketing then was very different from the way we do marketing now, right? The take was very different. In fact, let me give you an anecdote. So one of the roles which I performed was that of the product manager of laptops, right? And during those days, we had launched a new product with really super massive storage. And you know how much storage we were speaking of? We were speaking of 40 GB storage. Okay. and we are talking of half a GB of RAM, right? Nothing beyond that. And we used to really mention that, look, this is how much we are giving. This is how much we are providing. How do you think tech has changed from then and what it is now?
So before that, I think, thank you, Techmasters, something very new. I've spoken to a lot of people in forums which are very running related. I must say that this is one of the few that have done, especially in marketing, that too about technology. And there is a lot to be said. And I always wanted to actually share the experience that I am having in marketing today versus what I had when I set off in my career. And Wipro, so to say, was my biggest launch pad to marketing, if I may say. As you rightly said, I mean, there was no cloud and mobility and AI and these days we are being. In my current office, we are running this program on ChatGPT and finding out, saying, how do we leverage ChatGPT more innovatively as a company? And there we used to actually do print brochures, printing print brochures for ODCs and Center of Excellence. And I remember my first job in Wipro was pre-sales for Wipro Infotech, where I used to do pricing and sizing for the managed services business.
Okay.
And you do know the managed services. Yeah, so I had joined the Infotech business managing pre-sales before I moved into the marketing role. So that job was primarily meaning that you decide that whether you need to put one resource for the job or 1.5 resource for the job, which is a shared resource. So that is how technology used to be. In today's world, when I market, we typically talk about bots, We
Yeah.
typically talk about a lot of AI and ML. Everything starts and ends with that. So that's how far and wide we have gone. I'm not saying that we don't do. We are a erstwhile KPO organization, but I think the step that the organization is trying to take is saying that, well, people is necessary, but then people can be put to better use if you have technology with them. So you cannot do with people anymore. You cannot do with only technology as well. So you need to have the perfect mix. So we call this thing in our company, which I really love, called digital with human touch. I think so that's what has changed in our life, where in those times we would actually do a customer walking into a ODC where we'd show people working in these big whole screens. They have like 5 screens in that system, and they have all these very
Command centers.
looking screen. Yeah, the matrix looking screens, right? White and black everywhere on the DOS.
Correct.
DOS, wow, ancient it is. And from today, basis today, where we are trying to sell so much of in terms of tech concept, if I may say. So we're starting with saying we'll do a point of view for you, or we do a POC, and then we'll take that, and then we'll take the next step. So the first step usually a lot of times is to position that. So I think that's a huge shift that being in IT across these years, we've seen in how we are marketing IT. I mean, how IT is changing, and I come to, of course, how marketing is changing in that aspect. But then it's probably a 180-degree change.
Correct. And because of the change in tech, it is not that marketing of only IT companies is changing. Marketing is changing everywhere because of the change in tech, right? I mean, ChatGPT and all is not just a select reserve of IT organizations. It is everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere.
See, the channels where people are sitting and using versus what they are using. How many of us order print newspaper at home? Everybody is doing the e-newspaper, wanting to read on the phone or the app, or the consumption of information. The channels have changed completely. I remember in our times, we used to spend a whole lot of money in printing. Like whenever we had anything to do with marketing, we would print brochures which were designed like for the year, which would mean like, say, 600, 800 pieces of content, like brochures. And then we would keep them with the print. We used to use one of the largest print houses in Bangalore at that time for printing. And we used to place the order one bulk, so we get like cost benefit. And then we will keep taking it as and when we need. We would print everything in terms of brochures, flyers, case study booklets, God knows what all. Like I remember the most expensive when Wipro completed 10 years in Dubai and in Middle East. We printed these brochures. I created this storybook about Wipro's journey in Middle East. And we were giving each client a copy of that, like in this jazzy looking, which needed to be printed only in Hyderabad, printed it there. I think only the print took like 2,500 rupees in that time, which is probably 2011 or 12. Like 2,500 rupees at that time is probably 10,000 rupees today, if not more.
Yeah.
Correct. And they were the only ones in India who could do that kind of printing. It was like literally the way you see wedding cards in Delhi NCR, if I may say the cliche, but that's how it was. Very, very chic looking, designed to exclusivity and all of that stuff. These days, at least in the last 7-8 years of my career, of my marketing, Microsoft, Mom's Belief, and now in FirstSource, I don't think we have even printed a visiting card. Like, I don't know if people still have visiting cards. Maybe the salespeople have. At that time, even marketers used to have visiting cards. I don't have a visiting card anymore. Like, to pushing it a little far, for the FirstSource company, for the first year and a half, almost 2 years, I didn't even have an ID card. And then I insisted, I said, I need an ID card. I mean, I know that I don't go anywhere with it, but I just at least need to know that it's a sense of belonging, because old school, right? You're used to wearing that ID card all your life. So there was, that's how far people and the way their quotient of tangibility, seeing, believing, consuming has changed. And you're rightly so that, therefore the way marketeers are put to job is very different than what we used to do. It was very easy when you have something print. We used to put these paper ads, newspaper ads. Now Newspaper ads, if you open a page, there is only that much that one can see. Today in digital space, it is extremely cluttered. Look at a e-paper TOI and see how much ad is there versus how much is possible on a print page.
Correct. In fact, I had kept a question for a little later, right? And I would like to keep it that way. Let me ask you something which immediately came to my mind. Shweta, what was the first, or let's say one of those initial problems of marketing that you solved for your organization?
When I joined marketing in Wipro, I remember we were desperately trying to do account-based marketing because till such time, marketing was very event, saying we go to this event, we go to that event, and we are doing like 100 events in the year. But then that was very one-to-many. We wanted to do the one-to-one marketing concept, which was very, very new at that time. We didn't know even how to shortlist the list of accounts we want to go to, leave aside what next. So I think I remember that I spent the first 6 months or a year to just come down to saying that how do we logically funnel out to saying who are these top accounts we want to reach out to. Like today it's very easy. Today most sales approaches accounts saying these are strategic accounts where we need to really either penetrate or expand. This is like the high expansion cross sell, and this is like new logos that we want to get into. Like that time business was like we had like 10 verticals, and we were going to every account that is possible and that existed in this country who had the appetite to pay for tech, right? And I think because it was hand and leg in doing mail messaging and printer management solutions, everybody needed those at that time because it's a cycle, right? Because people printed, you needed people to take care of print management. Therefore, you needed engineers who could manage those kind of services. Today, because printing doesn't happen in companies anymore, only few sectors use printing. Therefore, the whole value chain is getting probably eroded or will be gone eventually. Maybe, I don't know. But I think that was the first problem that came into my mind. It came into my lap, and I remember the then business head was insistent that that's what we need to crack. And I think after almost a year of saying, okay, this criteria, that criteria, we came 5 different criteria saying, okay, this is how we will manage the accounts. Okay, now how do we measure it? Because that was the first time I think when marketing was thinking of measuring anything. That too very qualitatively, not quantifyingly. And again, I'm sure we'll talk about this thing today, how marketing is measured through quantity and no longer quality. We went to quality and we said, okay, quality, we will put your, our 3 questions into your quality survey and then help us say, get us a rating and saying how are customers telling us, being fair to good and so on and so forth. So that was the first problem I think I remember I solved. I can proudly say I was the first person to launch account-based marketing for Wipro even before ITSMA actually came in. Later we partnered with ITSMA to do ABM much later, but then I think we started it even before ITSMA came in with that ABM program.
So that's a pioneering.
Yeah, it's my claim to fame by solving Wipro's problem as well.
Fantastic. So now that we are at it, tell me, what is the current marketing problem that you're solving?
See, the current marketing problem is I think just enabling sales or keeping your brand aware and top of the mind recall. Because today the players are a dime a dozen. There are and everybody is doing, there are, like we're talking about technology, right? That there are a whole lot of these startup segment technologies who have so much more and better technology, but they probably have they're a niche in what they are doing. So we are competing not just with the big ones, we are also competing with a lot of these players. So there is a whole lot of competition which is scaled up, which makes us extremely important to build that credibility for the brand. Now it's no longer that analysts said and hence we are there. Analysts is saying for like 15 other companies as well. So what is my key differentiator? Why a first source versus any of my other competitors? I think that is what makes our job harder than ever it has been, because it's not something it's no longer that we send a jazzy brochure with a nice giveaway and say, hey, we are Wipro, look at us and talk to us. And next thing you know, the CIOs reached out and saying, hey, can we talk to Nitish Bhushan? It doesn't happen in this world anymore. it is really, really hard, because what I am doing, 5 other people are doing. The channels are still digital, which is digital. Digital is, I say that digital is a big heart, it is space for everybody. And interestingly, everybody has a pocket to afford digital, wherein if we had to go and print in, say, something, or print a brochure, only biggies could do it. We could spend 2,500 to design a printer brochure. So many other companies would not be able to. So it was very easy to stand out. Today, it is extremely hard to stand out, and that is what makes marketing a critical function in that sense, and that is what makes marketing's job way more harder than it was in the past.
A lot of marketers are going to actually relate to what you're saying. Absolutely, they're going to relate to what you're saying. And this interaction will be viewed by some of our young friends, people who are say between that 0 to 5 years experience of being marketing professionals. Also, people are young friends who are aspiring to become marketers once, right? I mean, they must be studying in their PG schools or whatever. So to make them understand some of the things, right? You said a few minutes ago, you touched on the topic of marketing metrics in the new age, right? So would you like to delve on that? What used to be the marketing metrics earlier and how they've evolved now?
So the first thing first is that, see, earlier marketing was pretty much considered as another function, like, say, HR, or like the support functions, if I may say.
Correct.
Today, marketing is being looked upon as someone who can actually impact the pipeline. And the one big question that we always get asked is that, all right, you created these leads, what did you do to the pipeline? What's in the pipe from here? We were never asked these questions in 10 years ago. I remember our marketing, when we sent in a report, or when we went at the end of the year to prepare or like present to the leaders, we spoke about, the activities which we did. We'd probably say about, we did 50 events, and we did 20 roundtables, and we made X number of brochures, and we made that many case studies, and blah, blah, blah. It was all about what we did. Nobody ever questioned saying, okay, you did all of this, what did it end up into doing? We were immensely appreciated for all the new initiatives we always kept taking, the customer influence that we were able to do, like the account-based marketing. You remember Wipro Leading Edge was such a huge success for us because of the property we created and the impact it left with the clients, right? Now, but it was all good at that time. We were not really tagged to numbers, if I may say. And I think if the way we are tagged to numbers today, if I was tagged 10 years ago, I think I would have switched and gone into some other line and not done marketing, because that's the reason I've never done sales. But today it is very different. Today every dollar you spend, the first question that comes up is saying that, what is it going to give me to the pipe? Brand awareness, as I said, they're building the brand, keeping the brand recall. All of that is a given today. At that time, that was a big achievement. If you get into a client meeting and the client knew about you, or they've heard about you, or they read something about you, or you leave something nice on the table, it was like such a wow feeling. The sales was happy, business was happy, clients were happy. These days it doesn't happen like that. So these days, for anything you do, for any cost approval you ask, the first thing they say is, okay, how does it, what is it that's going to bring to me? When I say bring, say it clearly means what's going to bring to my pipe. So our metrics are very, very driven. So our metrics now, the report that we present is divided into these two big segments. One is the whole brand, where we measure impressions and how many page views, web visits, etc., etc. And then there's a clear-cut section where we talk about leads and downloads, which we further filter down into the pipe report, saying, okay, these many leads, or this is the opportunity currently in the pipe, which we have either impacted or generated. Now, a lot of times you're even able to influence, because our job is not just to generate, like that, especially if you're in services marketing, your life cycle to closing a deal is fairly long. So to ensure that you're communicating the right way to these people, they are seeing you in the right say, they're hearing your success stories, they're seeing your credibility. I think that has a lot of weightage too. So I think in sum total, those are two big things that we're clearly being focused on. And as a marketer, that's the biggest switch that we had gone through or transformed, to think like a salesperson, saying, will it give me, what is it that I'm doing it for? Is it pure play brand, or is it also sales pipe? And I must say that while leaders say that no, we need brand and we need you to do awareness, when we go there should know, etc. End of the day, when you go to the boardroom and discuss about what marketing did and your spend and you ask for budgets, the first question they invariably end up asking is that what happened to the pipe from marketing. So that is how we need to start thinking, and we are no longer working in silos. In our times, we were told the function used to be called sales and marketing, but sales would never look at us. We had to literally go begging to them, saying, please, let us do marketing. Today,
we were the stepsisters or the stepbrothers. We were the step relatives.
Yeah, we were never like, we always had to list of the priority things. But Wipro has been a different experience. They really appreciated marketing for all the good things. But today it truly is a sales and marketing function, because your sales is reaching out to you to help or enable them, which is a great win for the marketing function, so to say. They think that they need us, and they also believe that we can do some positive good to them, which is I see it as a marketer as a great win for me.
So clearly we've come from that era of print marketing to digital marketing, right? There is absolutely zero doubt in that. Zero doubt. And like you said, some moments ago, print marketing used to be, or rich print marketing used to be, the select reserve of the rich and mighty, right? Now the digital marketing has brought in so much of democratization that anyone with the skills to do a proper digital marketing campaign can actually do that, right? It's David versus the Goliaths, right? And Davids would tend to win, given the context of these days. Tell us what digital marketing is about. What one should look forward to if one wants to become a digital marketer.
See, digital marketing is very loosely interpreted. Email marketing is also digital marketing. Most people think, oh, digital means all these jazzy keywords of SEO and search engine optimization and what is your CTR and all of that. Well, it is all. But email marketing is also digital marketing. What we are really trying to say is that we are all using only digital channels to market in today's world. Having said that, we still are doing a lot of events, the on-ground events, which are probably becoming more of networking forums for sales, not so much for maybe lead generation, but the other channels like podcasts, webinars, and digital sales engines like LinkedIn is becoming prime. What is really evolving is the use of technology in marketing. Today's a good marketer's desire is to have end-to-end tech to use it. Like I have an email marketing engine, and then I have an engine which captures my web visits, and then I'm able to use a tool to kind of do the right kind of campaign for those kind of people based on their behavior, on what pages they are visiting and all of that stuff. Like say, for example, HubSpot. Every organization desires to have HubSpot for the intelligence they bring to us, for the tech they are able to build to us for end-to-end. Like, for example, in my current company, the whole point I told you about mapping digital leads to the revenue is a manual activity that I do. We do not have integration of that part in this company. Wherein when I talk about Dell, while Dell was not so bound about saying what impact we created on the pipe still, but we had everything was on Salesforce, so we could pull out a report very easily saying, oh, these leads we have generated, this is what it folded. Is a very simple reporting that we got to do. So it is still very it's evolving in a lot of companies and marketing places. But I think what I am looking for people to look at is that to see digital holistically. It's not about LinkedIn and Google search. There is more to digital than doing LinkedIn marketing and Google search ads. You need to have good content knowledge to be a good digital marketer, as I said, because everybody's selling the same thing. Everybody's using those 10 words which are existing in this world of technology. AI, ML, predictive analysis. These are a few words that everybody's using.
GPT.
what is important? Yeah, GPT. Don't forget that. Like we are being like pushed down our throat to use it. I think. What is
The big dada of everything.
yeah. Now Google is coming back saying, oh, ChatGPT, our Google search has so many other options. Have you ever used those extensors and all of that stuff? So for one to be a successful digital marketing, I think you need to understand all of this. You need to know Martech. Without Martech, I think marketing is going to get more and more difficult. And there is a lot available in that space. Every company uses what he or she can. There is a lot available for $2,000. There's a lot available at $10,000. So you probably need to understand and evolve a little bit in that space. We are privileged to know a lot of it while we are working, where there is a certain need, and because of need leads to research, and then we are coming up with more and more tech into our system. But I think that is something that one really needs to know. I think two things which are super critical in making a marketeer is your understanding of your user base, which goes unsaid. Understanding where they're resting, seeing what they're reading, and how they're consuming their content, of course, which is basic research of your target. The second is content marketing. I think content is becoming the king. It has always been the king, but I think it is changing more and more. It is about how you tell your story is actually going to be the game changer, because that is the only differentiator you have. And the other thing is having tech tools so that you're able to reach the right set of audience. And when you have that knowledge, you're able to do something about it and not sit on that data. Like, for example, we have this tool called Influ2, for example. It's a very good brand awareness tool. It tells us saying how many people have seen our ads when, and so on and so forth. But that data, if I'm not doing anything with that data, then I'm wasting the money I'm using on that data. So you need to kind of think, it's no longer about running a campaign. It is about the end-to-end journey of saying that, okay, this is the person I need to reach. This is the campaign I have to do. This is how I will reach them. This is what I will tell them. This is what they are doing. Therefore, this is how I will ensure the end objective is that they come and do something with you. Either they fill up a form or they want to talk to you or something. So till that time is not done, you got to be at it. Multi-channel is supreme. You cannot think that only LinkedIn is the end of the world. You have to go through multi-channel, because we have repeatedly seen that if clients are not, like, if our data, and this is internal data to analysis that we did, that for a client to take action on your anything marketing, you have to have at least 13 to 20 touch bases with that person before the client actually engages with you. So you mean to say that it cannot happen overnight. It's not like you run a campaign for 6 weeks and you will see results. You're not selling products. This is services especially. And even with products, nobody changes brands just overnight. It takes a lot of persuasion.
Yes.
Applies across. It is more human behavior than anything else. So it takes time to think about long-term campaigns. Think about content and how you're going to tell your story well. And the third is, of course, the channels and what you're going to do, and end to end. It eventually has to end up saying, how does this end up into my pipe somehow or the other? Your job is to get an NQL. After that, what sales does is sales job. That's a separate journey for a marketer altogether, but that till such time your job is not done. Running a campaign means nothing in today's world. Sorry, but that's a harsh truth.
This one answer that you gave has opened just too many questions. And, while we cannot take all the questions today, the one question which I'm really being tempted to ask you, you mentioned about knowing where your customer is consuming information from, right, or knowledge from, and then talking about or sharing your knowledge over there, right? How does go about doing that? In the sense, how do I find out where my customer is consuming his or her knowledge from?
See, the digital is very powerful, and it's omnipresent. Like, say, for example, if I have to go to American Express and see where is American Express operations person going, where do you think will they go? They'll go to any place which is bankers related, right? Because they will have all bankers go to some place. They will go to a American Bankers Association, or they will go to forums like those. So that is where I need to find my positioning. I need to be seen on those forums as well. I need to be in those areas and those events where they are going and they are seeking knowledge. Like say, for example, if you need to find about tech, where will you go? For example, every tech person goes to TechCrunch or you go to Quora. So it is just the same thing that, if you see the behavior of those people, if so it's a top-down approach saying, okay, this is my 10 accounts. Say, for example, we talk about banking financial. In this banking financial, okay, these are banks, these are insurance, these are cards. Then under them, who are we chasing? Are we chasing, say, their operations person, their purchase person, say, the marketing person? Now, where are the banking marketing functions going? Or where are the banking, and it's very available. If you look at it, do a little bit of, or even secondary research, you will find those information. So those most popular sites which are feeding into, these all these what do you call, portfolios of people. So that you need to start with third-party collaboration with all of them. There are also lots of these newsletter channels, like say, for example, Economic Times, Financial Times, and so on and so forth, right? Now, those are not private sector specific. They are more news channels. But I'm talking about similar spaces where you have, news, what do you call, industry-related conversations happening there all the time. So those are channels that I'm talking about. That's where they are consuming. Now, it is a waste for me to go and do anything on Facebook and Instagram. So we never do anything there. But having said that, we leverage Facebook and Instagram when I'm doing a recruitment campaign, for example, because the recruiter audience, the people I'm trying to hire, for example, the younger generation, especially like the KPU audience, they are going and consuming information on those channels. So that's very, very important that I market there. So that differentiation you got to do.
Correct. So you mentioned about LinkedIn, you mentioned about say Instagram and Facebook on the other hand, right? One is purely professional, the other is consumerish, more social than LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, I think in the truest sense, is not social media. LinkedIn is more of a professional networking site. Social media is truly Facebook and Instagram. Tell us the points of difference between B2B marketing and B2C marketing.
See, the biggest difference that I see is that if I'm telling somebody to do, say, automation in their collection process, I can only show them a process conceptually, right? At max, I can, if I have a successful case study, I can record that, maybe morph all the names and all of that and show them, like, this is how the experience is. There's nothing to show. There's no tangibility. There is, but if I had to tell someone to buy, say, whatever, I have this phone here from them, it's very easy to show them, right? I can show them in different angles, pictures, photos, color combination. There is a place when one can go, touch and feel and see it. I think the biggest differentiator in tech versus in B2B versus B2C is that, like, if I'm don't go that far. If I am doing in India, there are these lot of services who are providing cooks, right? You can book online and you can hire a cook and come and all of that. Now, it's just faith, it's just credibility, because you don't know how the cook cooks. There's no way you can know till you try it. Versus somebody who's selling, say, pastries. You can see the pastry, you know how it looks. You can,
you can sort of figure out how it will taste by the way it looks. You can figure out.
You at least you have the appeal of how it looks, how it tastes. You can go and see it, and there is tangibility to it. So therefore, so that is the biggest difference in terms of conceptually. I think the one common thing that still says is the consumer behavior, right? Both are consumers and souls in its own form. And customer experience is again common, because everybody is looking at giving clients their best customer experience, be it B2C, B2C, that's not changing. But what changes immensely is, I think, the channel. Because if I am going to look for a new running shoe, I am not going to go to a et.com and look for it. I'll probably go to, either go to Instagram and ask someone, or I will go to some running related portals and so on and so forth. But or go to a store and check it out myself, right? But I think the channel changes drastically. The channels are more social, so to say, as you rightly said. Wherein here we're talking about a lot more professional. There are Media channels, like you see, B2C has a great scope of using television. You're still using a lot of print, sending samples. There is still a whole lot of tangible experience that can be provided, which B2B doesn't have and wouldn't have going forward, especially. Like 10 years ago, we still had ODCs where we would take customers and make them or do them a walkthrough and show them how they work, how secure it is, and how all of that. But today there is no way I can show somebody how a bot for you will work, right?
Yeah, correct, correct.
It is just not possible. We did try to create like this bot. What do you call? Buy on the fly kinds, saying click and have a button, you're saying, but we didn't see much success because we said it's just not possible, because the amount of data we require to internally quickly customize something and give it to that person is not how this works. So I think that those are some of the biggest changes. I think the channel, the tangible, non-tangible makes it the hardest. The channels are widely different. The way you communicate, therefore, changes drastically, right? In social media, if you talk about productivity on Instagram, nobody's interested. You'll have to like, so when we present our brand on LinkedIn versus when we present our brand on, say, other social media channels are very different. We show our brand is very fun loving. We talk about, events we do, like a lot of culture. We are a happy place to be. And when here we are talking about it, we talk about our productivity, how our clients are happy, how we are helping clients base, how secure we can be, our global presence in terms of countries we are present, etc. So I think it is very, very different when we are communicating. The channels define how you communicate and what you communicate. So I think that's the biggest difference, so to say.
Pretty insightful.
I can go on, but we will run out of time. But yeah, I mean those are the top few things that I think really differentiates the two.
Yes. In fact, we'll do more sessions. We'll do repeat sessions on this particular topic, because this is absolutely never ending. Absolutely never ending. So on the topic of marketing and tech, let me come to my last question. I have still a few more on the other topics, right? Are you guys in your organization planning to use ChatGPT, right? And you need not tell us what strategy you guys are going to employ, but are you seriously evaluating ChatGPT? And if you are, what is it that you found so far about ChatGPT? How can it help you?
So I have used personally ChatGPT when it came just a week before that Satya Nadella news came in, when he said he scolded ChatGPT because he said what dosa is a whatever, that whole news came around.
Correct.
I think so. I had just used ChatGPT to write a blog. I must say that I was pretty impressed with what it threw at me. And this is personal experience, and I'll tell you how our organization is looking at adopting it. And I was pretty impressed to kind of give you a grassroots starting level, like, as against if I have to sit and write a blog today, to just do the research and go through and do all of that. Like, how do you put the first line? Like, for any writer, I think putting the first line in place is the toughest, right? Once you have it, then you start flowing. But I think here there was something that came to you, something which is made. Now, does it really have, and it's very search dependent, right? Depends on how you search, what you search, and how you put together. So it equips you, so to say, but I think you still have to have the intelligence to know how it is. Eventually, we took it and went to a writer to kind of clean it up and put more meat into it. But it was grassroots to start with. But I mean, it wasn't bad, I will say. But I wouldn't totally depend on it a great deal. Let's say it like that. Now, from a company, what we are doing is we're trying to run a project across business, across functions. And we did this like a hackathon on ChatGPT, saying people come up with these unique ideas of how they can use ChatGPT. And marketing is not so relevant because we are supposed to be creative ones. We are not expected to write content through ChatGPT, maybe. Or that's not a project in itself which is worth a kudos. But I think so. We're looking at more from operations, from training, how do we use ChatGPT, and so on and so forth. So that was like a hackathon, and then I think we summarized a few, things that we would want to take it ahead, and so on and so forth. But companies are, long story short, I think companies are really trying to adopt ChatGPT to see how they can become more effective and efficient. What comes out of it is yet to be discovered, but I think we are on that journey.
So a few questions earlier, you're talking about the fact that we are consuming a lot of information digitally, right? So for example, newspapers. Before COVID, it used to be newspapers. Now a lot of people do electronic reading, right? Uh, I still read newspapers. I love the feel of holding a book or a paper in my hand. Um, Tell us about your reading habits. What do you read? How do you read?
I only read physical. I don't read anything digital. I just cannot read digital. To the extent that my nutrition plan comes digitally to me, I take a print out of it, and that's how I keep track of it. I still love to write with a paper and a pen,
Okay.
and in my office I still keep a diary with a paper and a pen. I love these multicolor pens. In Wipro times, habits have not changed. Every year I get a new book, and because it's financial year, so I change with the financial year. I
Okay.
scribble everything date wise, and this ink, that ink. It's just a very colorful thing to do. I still do everything print.
Hmm.
Simple logic. I think I you can call me old school. I spend most of my time digitally. Whatever time I have to my personals, I don't want to spend it digitally because there's just too much digital going on in my life. So I still prefer to read a book. I buy a book. I love the fact to go to a bookshop, to look through it and to just read the PJ and saying what's being told about this book, what's good, you really like it. And you realize there's some book while they're raving about it, the moment you look at it or you open it, you don't get the vibe, right? Like
Hmm.
that vibe in
Hmm.
digital is not, you don't get any vibe out of digital. They don't talk to you, you are it's it just push to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
pull of seeing something and wanting to touch the paper, and that's exactly what I do my mornings as well, is that I have a newspaper at home which comes. I still touch and open and read the newspaper and read it. Even if it is 10 minutes, I still read the newspaper which comes to my
It's
home
worth it.
delivered. So it's worth
So,
it.
so
Yeah, I'm not.
it's absolutely
I'm
worth
not
it.
going to. Yeah,
So, when you're at work, you can't actually keep the mobile away too much, right? But when you're at home and you're reading stuff, how do you manage mobile? What do you do with the mobile? Do you just kind of switch it off and throw it away?
if left to me, I will not keep a mobile phone. I will go
Okay.
back to using the landline. I think life is absolutely blissful. I
Enough?
still, on most given attempts, try and not use the mobile phone.
Yeah.
This year I have started this policy of 12 hours of no mobile in my life.
Okay.
So evening around 9:30 ish, by the time I wrap up work, I leave my mobile phone to charge in my office desk, and
Hmm.
I don't take my mobile phone on my bedside or in my bedroom. I use the old alarm, which doesn't have a snooze button. It rings loudly to wake up the whole house.
So
Sometime
it
when I
doesn't
go
wake
in
you
bed,
up. No, it doesn't wake you up. It shakes you up.
yeah, it just throws you out of the bed.
Yeah.
Like even
Correct.
if you want to snooze, you cannot snooze after that. So that's what I use.
Correct.
I and I don't see my mobile till I finish my morning run saga, whatever. I come back and maybe 9:30 ish. I look at my thing. Exceptions, yes, if there's fire at work or something else, or that maybe my parents are not well, then I need to watch out for them. That's a different situation altogether. But
Hmm.
that is the practice preferred choice all the time. At least 90% of the time I've been trying to do it. We are starting June. I've yet been successful. The world hasn't fallen apart. And I do also have no digital days in my life when I actually just switch off the phone on a weekend and I say I'm not going to use phone. I call my parents and I tell them that no phone, you don't call me, don't worry about it. Also, when I travel, I just keep away the phone. I usually try and
Hmm.
keep it on like flight mode or not use it at all. Maybe just use it for pictures or phone, like pictures mostly if I need to. I'm not very clingy or possessive about the phone. I can very easily just stay with a book, and a nice cup of coffee will make my day. So
No, especially while reading, you just don't need any distractions, no?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's, I mean, one is that, the other is also scientific. I remember one time I was struggling to sleep, and then it was last year, I think, when I was speaking to my nutritionist. My nutritionist said, "Do you keep your phone next to you when you sleep?" I said, "Of course I do." He said, "Yeah, maybe reduce your whatever digital time." And I realized that, see, because of work, 10 hours of digital time minimum is given. You cannot take that away, right?
Mm.
Plus to that, if I use 5 hours of my personal digital time, then I'm
Mm.
actually living a digital life and not a real life. So, we could do it more physical than being just digital. Being
Correct.
just physically present with people. It's very very what do you call uh, hurting to see people sitting in nice good cafes and just everybody's on the phone looking. I think I've started joking with my friends saying we are all going to become like monkeys. You've seen monkeys that head like this, something like we no longer be able to literally on the phone. like when I went home, I saw my mom. She's like this. Okay, she's like cooking like this, and I said,
Yeah.
Mom, just a matter of another year or so, you will become like
You'll be
this
like this.
because you will be like this because you can't keep your neck straight. You're always like this.
Mm.
Like I don't understand the urge. Maybe I am the odd one out, but that's me, and I'm not complaining.
Fantastic. So, Mahasweta, that brings us to the close of the session. And before we end it, there is something which I wanted to ask you, and I'm quoting you. On LinkedIn, there was a post where you said, if your mind is rested in whatever you do, you will be so much more productive and effective. And I think this is from one of your podcasts, right? So,
Yes.
explain this thought. Explain this thought.
And this realization especially came when I was at the MDS, at the Marathon Des Sables event. 7 days, no phone, no network, no food, no what to eat. You only had whatever food you had in your bag to eat. You had only one task to do: is every day start your race and finish your race within the given time. There was no distraction whatsoever in your mind. And going through that whole hardship of that race, that terrain, 40 plus degrees, you don't get shower, there's no change, you're living in that tent, you're living with, like, sharing tent with 8 other people, your blisters in your foot. There is pain unending in every shape and form you can think of. And I don't
Mm.
think at one time my mind had any thought of saying, oh, I cannot do this, why am I doing this, why did I come here, this is just beyond me. I never thought of giving up. And I can only relate to that one fact. I know I'm a strong person, I agree, but I think to be there alone and fighting this, I was able to do it only because my mind was just focused on one thing.
Mm.
I think that the biggest, and I personally have taken pride in the fact that I can multitask. And I realized with growing age is probably teaching me that multitask is actually not a blessing, it's a curse.
Mm.
You are
Mm.
not productive, you're always distracted. I'll give you a small example. How many times you pick up the phone, say you have to message someone, and you open WhatsApp, or you have to do something, say for example you have to place an order on, say, milk basket, and
Mm.
you open your phone and you by default go to WhatsApp and you see somebody has messaged and you reply, and then you engage in something else and you keep the phone and you forgot to do milk basket.
Correct.
And then it happens repeatedly, and so many times it has happened through days that you've forgotten to do it. That is
Mm.
what I call about saying that if your mind is, when you're doing one task, you picked up the phone to milk basket and leave it. We just
Mm.
cannot, because we are insistently holding everything to
But
ourselves. So
totally
if we
distracted, no?
can,
Totally distracted.
yes, it is, and it happens to me as well. I mean, I'm not
Mm.
I'm not saying that I'm all success. It happens to me as well. I mean, and just so many times, but I'm conscious about it and I'm trying to change it. So I think I'm just beginning to believe that, just how many times do you think or watch something when you're eating food? I have had experiences when I've had dinner while on a call, because my evenings are usually busy because it's US market. I don't even remember what I have had for dinner. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh, what did I eat? Nobody wants to live like that.
Or did
You
I
don't
even
want to
eat?
be. No, yeah, did I even? No, I remember I've eaten, but I've forgotten what I've eaten, or I don't even recall what
Mm.
I've eaten. And
Mm.
there is a lot of research saying that if you're doing it like that, your food's not getting digested, blah 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 blah. So
Mm.
all I'm trying to say is that one thing at a time. Don't overwork your brain unnecessarily. Your brain is actually getting tired, and one fine day it will shut down somehow or the other. So before it shuts down, just give it. It's like if the gadi is standing. Switch off the engine. Don't leave let the engine on. Nahi to on khade khade, it will stop one day. That's going to happen to all of us. what I meant right now. So
Let's hope it doesn't
that's
happen that way. But that's how it is appearing to be.
yeah.
Shweta, thank you so much for coming on Techmasters. It was a real pleasure having you. If I were to reflect on this, I think I've learned a real lot, right? Really massive. And I'm certainly going to summarize all the learnings that I've taken from this. I'm going to post them as well. Thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you, Nitish. I really liked having the conversation, and all the best to Techmasters. And
Thank
talk
you.
to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.